Modern existence treats constant accessibility as an unspoken rule, yet Carl Jungian psychology identifies it as a subtle form of self-abandonment. When you become unreachable, the social structures that rely on your predictability begin to crumble, revealing a world built on fragile foundations. This chapter delves into how immediate reaction to external stimuli is not merely a habit but a tool for manipulation, shaping our lives in ways we often don't recognize. Imagine standing at the center of a bustling marketplace where everyone's gaze is fixed upon you, waiting for your next move. In this scenario, every interaction is a transaction, with reactions being the currency. This constant engagement creates an illusion of power and influence, but it comes at a cost: our autonomy. When we react immediately to each external cue, whether it be a friend in distress or a colleague seeking advice, we surrender control over our psychic energy. Our responses become predictable, turning us into convenient emotional tools for others. Jung described this phenomenon as the architectural design of human reaction patterns. In psychological terms, these reactions are pathways deeply ingrained through repeated experiences and societal conditioning. When someone calls your name or sends a text message, your reflexive response is almost automatic. The moment you answer, whether with an explosive outburst or a gentle nod to their request, your internal state becomes theirs to manage. Predictability here serves as a double-edged sword. On one side, it provides comfort and security for those who know how to press the right buttons. They can rely on your reaction, knowing exactly what response they will receive. Yet this predictability also means that you are giving away control over your internal state to others. Your availability becomes an emotional emergency button that is pressed whenever someone needs validation or a quick fix. This creates a cycle where external triggers dictate the rhythm of your life. In the realm of modern relationships and interactions, the concept of immediacy has been elevated to a virtue. There's pressure to be instantly available, whether through constant messaging or always being on call. Yet this culture of availability is more than just an inconvenience. It's a form of emotional labor that drains your psychic resources without replenishing them. Each moment you spend attending to others' needs at the expense of your own is like adding another brick to the wall around your inner world, making it harder and harder to reclaim. The reflexive trap, as Jung might explain it, is the loss of sovereignty over one's emotions and thoughts. Every automatic response you provide without conscious deliberation reinforces a pattern that makes it easier for others to dictate how you feel or think. For instance, if every time someone expresses disappointment or frustration towards you, you instinctively try to fix their problems rather than acknowledging your own feelings, you are entering into the reflexive trap. This not only diminishes your personal power, but also disconnects you from your deeper self. The withdrawal of energy, however, can be seen as a powerful act of reclaiming that sovereignty. When you step back and refuse to react instantly, you force those around you to adjust their expectations. The sudden absence of your predictable responses can create discomfort and even anxiety for others who are used to having easy access to your emotional support or solutions. This shift in dynamics is crucial because it disrupts the comfortable patterns that keep them from exploring deeper issues on their own. The energy shift, therefore, is not just about withdrawing physically, but also about changing how you interact with and respond to stimuli. It's a conscious choice to no longer be the go-to person for every problem or crisis. By doing so, you invite others to confront their own inner states rather than relying on your presence as an escape from their emotional challenges. In conclusion, this chapter highlights that predictability is indeed a tool for manipulation in social dynamics. Your constant availability and reflexive responses can be seen not just as acts of kindness or support, but as mechanisms that keep you bound to the expectations and needs of others. By understanding these patterns, you begin to see how reclaiming your internal authority requires stepping away from the immediacy that drains your psychic resources. Carl Jung's exploration of the psyche emphasizes that our responses to stimuli are deeply rooted in unconscious processes. These can be as ancient and pervasive as collective archetypes, or as personal and specific as individual complexes. When you become aware of these patterns, Your withdrawal from habitual reactions becomes a profound act of individuation, a term used by Jung to describe the process of becoming an integrated self through conscious awareness. Individuation involves recognizing and integrating one's shadow, which is the part of the psyche that contains repressed or less desirable aspects of our personality. By stepping away from reflexive responses, you are essentially giving yourself space to engage with your own shadow material without being pulled into external dramas. This introspective journey can be challenging, but also incredibly empowering. Historically, many spiritual and philosophical traditions emphasize the importance of detachment as a means towards enlightenment or self-realization. For instance, in Taoism, the concept of wu-wei suggests an effortless action where one acts spontaneously yet without forceful intention. This aligns with Jung's idea that spontaneous responses often stem from unconscious drives rather than conscious decision-making. By practicing non-attachment to outcomes and embracing a more contemplative approach, you cultivate a deeper understanding of your motivations and desires. Another lesser-known detail in this context is the concept of psychic inflation. This occurs when an individual's self-esteem becomes overly dependent on external validation or recognition. When you start withdrawing from immediate reactions, you begin to challenge such dependencies by forcing yourself into periods of introspection and self-reliance. Over time, this can lead to a more grounded sense of self-worth that is not contingent upon the approval or acceptance of others. The implications of these shifts in behavior are far-reaching. For one, they create space for healthier relationships built on mutual respect rather than codependency. When you stop being the fixer or constant emotional support system, those around you may initially feel lost without your immediate presence, but ultimately grow more independent and resilient. This dynamic fosters a culture of personal responsibility and introspection. Moreover, stepping back from predictable patterns opens up opportunities for creativity and innovation. Without the pressure to respond immediately, there's room for contemplation and new ideas to emerge. The absence of instant gratification can lead to more thoughtful and considered actions, enriching both personal and professional endeavors. It's crucial to note that this process doesn't mean isolating oneself completely or becoming emotionally unavailable. Rather, it involves setting boundaries and engaging in interactions from a place of self-awareness. This balanced approach allows for authentic connections while maintaining one's psychic integrity. The modern world values constant connectivity, where responsiveness and predictability are seen as virtues. Yet Carl Jungian psychology suggests that this constant accessibility is not just an inconvenience, but a subtle form of self-abandonment. When you become unreachable, the social structures that rely on your predictability begin to collapse, revealing deeper truths about our interconnectedness and autonomy. In the realm of human interaction, predictability serves as a tool for manipulation. Our reactions are often governed by external triggers, emotional levers pulled by others to evoke specific responses from us. This architecture of reaction is how environments maintain control over individuals. When you react immediately to these triggers, you relinquish your psychic energy to those who only see utility in your availability. Predictability becomes a means for others to own your internal state, whether it's knowing when and how you'll explode or comply with their demands. Your responsiveness acts as an emotional emergency button that they can press whenever validation is needed. This constant need for validation through predictability strips away the essence of self-sovereignty, reducing individuals to tools for others' convenience. The reflexive trap encapsulates this loss of sovereignty. The moment you respond out of habit or fear rather than from a place of internal authority, your autonomy wavers. Every automatic reaction reinforces the idea that external forces dictate your actions and thoughts. Over time, these repeated acts of submission diminish personal power, creating an environment where individuals are more responsive to others' expectations than their own needs. The energy shift describes how withdrawal can force a change in environmental dynamics. When you choose not to engage immediately or at all, the external world must adapt to this new reality. Silence is not just about ceasing communication, but also about reclaiming psychic space and energy, The absence of instant responses disrupts established patterns of interaction, forcing others to confront their own dependency on predictability. The exhaustion of the persona illustrates the price paid for seeking approval through constant accessibility. This mask of perpetual availability functions as a prison, confining individuals within rigid roles defined by external expectations. The more one occupies the center stage in others' lives, the further they drift from their own essence and core identity. Personal energy is squandered on maintaining this facade, leading to a profound sense of depletion and loss. The invisible contract represents the unconscious expectation that being always available will buy safety or love. However, this agreement often results in emotional exhaustion as individuals distribute vital resources without replenishment. The true cost becomes apparent when one's personal boundaries are constantly violated under the guise of helpfulness, leading to resentment and a gradual erosion of self-worth. The price of peace highlights how maintaining social harmony through an always-present persona can suffocate the authentic individual within. The good persona ensures order, but at the expense of internal growth and fulfillment. This constant need for external validation comes at the cost of personal development, where genuine transformation is stifled by a relentless pursuit of others' approval. The shadow of the helper delves into the unauthentic yes that fuels bitterness and resentment. Every forced response contributes to an inner debt collector, waiting for repayment in the form of self-honesty and authenticity. Kindness used to avoid rejection becomes psychological poison, creating divisions within the psyche where persona remains helpful while shadow gathers its grievances. The reservoir of resentment traces how constant availability leads to accumulated bitterness over time. As one continues to cater to others' needs without addressing their own, this unseen accumulation manifests in silent suffering and internal conflict. These unresolved emotions weigh heavily on personal peace and well-being, further distancing individuals from genuine connection with self and others. The manipulation of guilt examines how the silence of guilt is used to control reactions. By keeping silent about feelings of resentment or overburdening oneself for the sake of maintaining harmony, one allows external forces to dictate emotional states. This silent submission perpetuates cycles of dependency, where individuals sacrifice personal integrity in exchange for superficial peace. The Alchemy of the Void describes the transformative power of silence and strategic unavailability. By refusing to justify absence, one takes away others' narrative control. The refusal to be a convenient resource forces them to confront their own internal noise, breaking through projections placed upon us by society and individuals alike. This withdrawal is an act of self-awareness rather than isolation, allowing for deeper introspection and growth. Strategic unavailability involves setting boundaries that protect personal integrity while fostering authentic connections. Accepting the risk of being misunderstood or labeled as cold to safeguard one's essence becomes a critical step in this process. The price paid for depth is often seen as too high by those who prioritize external harmony over internal well-being. Yet it is through such sacrifices that genuine individuation occurs. The sovereignty of self represents the final integration where personal peace surpasses false connections. The loneliness of the strong becomes a path to freedom, acknowledging that true strength lies in choosing one's own silence rather than succumbing to societal pressures for constant availability. This journey towards sacred isolation and rebirth of presence involves embracing solitude as a means to rebuild identity from within, not from external validation. In essence, the concept of predictability as a tool for manipulation highlights the dangers of unchecked responsiveness in our interconnected world. By understanding these dynamics, individuals can reclaim their internal authority, fostering healthier relationships grounded in authenticity and mutual respect rather than superficial accessibility. The reflexive trap and loss of sovereignty is an intricate psychological mechanism that underpins the modern predicament of constant accessibility. When every phone buzz, message ping, or social media notification demands instant attention, we inadvertently relinquish our autonomy to the incessant drumbeat of external stimuli. This chapter delves into how this reflexive trap erodes personal sovereignty and hinders genuine individuation. Carl Jung's theories on individuation emphasize the importance of self-discovery through introspection and withdrawal from excessive social engagement. However, in today's hyper-connected world, the notion of maintaining a continuous digital presence has become a standard expectation. This constant availability is not merely an inconvenience, it represents a profound loss of personal boundaries and inner peace. The environment thrives on emotional triggers that dictate our reactions, transforming us into automatons who respond without thought or consideration. When we react immediately to every stimulus, we are surrendering our psychic energy to those around us. This pattern of instant responsiveness is akin to an involuntary dance where the rhythm and tempo are dictated by others rather than ourselves. The reflexive trap captures this phenomenon, illustrating how our immediate responses can be exploited for emotional manipulation. The first step in breaking free from the reflexive trap is recognizing that predictability is a tool for control. When individuals can anticipate your reactions, whether you'll burst into anger or acquiesce to their demands, they wield significant power over your internal state. This predictive capacity transforms our availability into an emotional emergency button, one that others can press at will to elicit the desired response. The more predictable and reactive we become, the less control we have over our own emotions and decisions. The reflexive trap not only undermines personal sovereignty, but also fosters a sense of self-abandonment. As we cater endlessly to external expectations, we neglect our inner landscape, leaving no room for genuine introspection or growth. This constant state of outward focus drains vital energy that could otherwise be invested in nurturing the self and developing a deeper understanding of one's psyche. The unconscious expectation underlying this reflexive trap is often an invisible contract, a tacit agreement that availability will buy safety or love. We believe that by being always present for others, we secure their approval and affection. This illusion creates a paradoxical situation where our constant accessibility becomes a prison, imprisoning us within the confines of others' expectations. The price paid for this relentless pursuit of external validation is immense. By occupying the center stage in other people's lives, we gradually fade into the background of our own existence. The more we distribute ourselves across various social roles and responsibilities, the less time and energy remain to nurture our authentic selves. This depletion leaves us feeling hollow and disconnected from our core essence. The concept of unauthentic kindness further exacerbates this loss of sovereignty. Kindness that stems from a place of obligation or fear of rejection is not genuine. It serves as psychological poison, creating an internal divide between the persona we project to others and the shadow aspects of ourselves that carry bitterness and resentment. This divide festers over time, accumulating unspoken grievances and unresolved emotions. The reservoir of resentment within those who are perpetually available acts as a silent debt collector in our psyche. Each forced response or sacrificed moment contributes to this growing burden, leaving us feeling resentful towards both others and ourselves for failing to maintain the facade of constant accessibility. The manipulation of guilt further compounds this issue, using silence as a weapon to control reactions and keep individuals tethered to their roles, rather than encouraging them to seek genuine fulfillment. Silence, when rooted in awareness, can be an act of power, a refusal to justify or explain one's absence. By breaking free from the reflexive trap, we reclaim our ability to set boundaries and assert our own needs without apology. This strategic unavailability forces others to confront their own internal noise rather than projecting it onto us. The transition from being a resource to becoming a mystery marks an essential shift in personal sovereignty. When we no longer feel compelled to provide constant availability, we open the door for deeper connections built on mutual respect and understanding, rather than superficial accessibility. This alchemy of the void transforms isolation into a fertile ground for inner transformation. In conclusion, breaking free from the reflexive trap involves recognizing the value of silence as an act of self-sovereignty. By embracing solitude and strategic unavailability, we pave the way for sacred isolation, a space where identity can be rebuilt from within, rather than being shaped by external validation. This rebirth of presence enables us to reclaim our inner authority and find peace in the depths of our own existence, thereby protecting what is truly ours, the essence of who we are. The concept of withdrawal in psychology and spirituality is often misunderstood as a retreat from life. However, true withdrawal, when practiced with intention and awareness, is an act of profound self-care and empowerment. It's not about isolating oneself from the world, but rather stepping back to reclaim internal authority and energy. When we constantly prioritize others' needs over our own, we lose sight of who we truly are. We become a shadow of ourselves, reacting to external triggers without pausing for reflection. The reflexive trap ensnares us in patterns of behavior that drain our psychic reserves. Every time we offer help or respond immediately to calls and messages, we're feeding into the illusion that constant availability equals value. Yet when we withdraw, we break this cycle of reactive engagement. By choosing silence and strategic unavailability, we create space for self-discovery and inner transformation. This isn't about avoiding responsibilities, but rather redefining our relationship with them. It's a process of reclaiming our energy from the relentless demands of the external world. Carl Jung's concept of individuation is deeply intertwined with this idea of withdrawal. Individuation refers to the process of becoming an individual in the fullest sense, integrating conscious and unconscious aspects of oneself to achieve wholeness. Withdrawal serves as a catalyst for this integration by allowing us to confront our shadows, those parts of ourselves we've disowned or neglected. Historically, cultures around the world have recognized the value of solitude and withdrawal. In ancient Greek philosophy, the practice of asceticism was seen as a way to purify the soul and achieve inner peace. Similarly, in Eastern traditions like Buddhism and Taoism, monastic practices emphasize periods of seclusion for spiritual growth. These approaches are not about running away from life, but rather stepping back to gain perspective. In modern psychology, the concept of emotional regulation is closely linked to withdrawal as a means of managing stress and maintaining mental health. When we're bombarded with constant demands and stimuli, our capacity for clear thinking and effective decision-making diminishes. By setting boundaries and creating space through withdrawal, we can better manage these inputs and foster resilience. Withdrawal also functions as an act of power in the face of societal expectations. In a world that values constant accessibility, stepping back from this norm challenges existing power dynamics. It's not just about personal well-being, but also about reclaiming sovereignty over our own lives. When we refuse to be available at all times, we disrupt the status quo and assert our right to prioritize self-care. Furthermore, strategic unavailability is a powerful tool in breaking free from patterns of codependency and enabling behavior. By setting clear boundaries and being unavailable for toxic or draining interactions, we protect our energy and mental health. This isn't about cutting people off, but rather creating healthier dynamics that support mutual growth and well-being. However, embracing withdrawal doesn't come without challenges. There's often an invisible contract in place, where constant availability is expected as a form of emotional labor or social currency. Breaking this contract can lead to feelings of guilt, isolation, and fear of abandonment. Yet, it's crucial to recognize that these fears are rooted in old patterns of seeking external validation rather than internal fulfillment. The energy shift brought about by withdrawal is profound. As we step back from the constant demands of others, we begin to notice changes within ourselves. We feel more grounded and centered, with a clearer sense of purpose. Our interactions become richer and more meaningful because they're no longer driven by obligation, but rather a genuine desire for connection. In essence, withdrawal is not about giving up or avoiding responsibility. It's about reclaiming our power to live authentically. By embracing silence and solitude, we create space for inner transformation and deepen our connection with ourselves. This process of individuation through withdrawal ultimately leads to greater peace, clarity, and a sense of wholeness in life. So as we navigate the complexities of modern existence, let us remember that true strength lies not in constant availability, but in the courage to withdraw when needed. By doing so, we protect our energy, foster resilience, and pave the way for personal growth and fulfillment. Historically, periods of withdrawal and introspection have been recognized across various cultures as essential for personal development and spiritual growth. In ancient Greek philosophy, for example, figures like Socrates often emphasized the importance of solitude and self-reflection in achieving wisdom and moral clarity. Similarly, in Zen Buddhism, practitioners engage in regular periods of meditation and isolation to deepen their understanding of themselves and the world around them. The concept of withdrawal isn't limited to spiritual or philosophical contexts. It also has roots in psychological theory. Carl Jung's notion of individuation involves a process where individuals withdraw from societal norms and expectations to explore and integrate their unconscious mind. This internal journey is crucial for developing a unique sense of self that transcends collective identities. In contemporary society, however, the pressure to be constantly available can feel overwhelming. The advent of social media and instant messaging has created an environment where being always on is often seen as a virtue rather than a burden. This constant connectivity can drain one's energy and prevent genuine introspection. By stepping away from these platforms, individuals can reclaim their time for activities that nourish the soul, such as reading, writing, meditating, or pursuing creative endeavors. Withdrawal also plays a crucial role in managing burnout and maintaining mental health. In today's fast-paced world, many people find themselves exhausted by relentless social demands and the expectation to be constantly responsive. By withdrawing periodically, individuals can reset their emotional batteries and prevent the accumulation of stress that leads to burnout. This practice allows for a more sustainable approach to living, where one's energy is allocated thoughtfully rather than squandered in reactive responses. Moreover, withdrawal isn't solely about retreating from people, but also involves setting boundaries within relationships. It's essential to communicate these boundaries openly and constructively to maintain healthy connections. When individuals clearly articulate their needs for solitude or quiet time, it can strengthen relationships by fostering mutual respect and understanding. This approach helps prevent resentment and misunderstandings that often arise when personal limits are not respected. Another significant aspect of withdrawal is its impact on creativity and innovation. Many renowned artists, scientists, and thinkers have attributed breakthroughs to periods of isolation and introspection. For instance, Isaac Newton reportedly made some of his most groundbreaking discoveries during a period of quarantine in the countryside, away from the distractions of urban life. This example underscores how stepping back from external pressures can provide space for novel ideas to emerge. In addition to its personal benefits, withdrawal can also serve as a form of protest against societal norms that overemphasize productivity and constant activity at the expense of well-being. By choosing moments of retreat, individuals resist the homogenizing forces of consumerism and social media culture, which often prioritize quantity over quality in terms of human interaction. However, it's important to approach withdrawal with intentionality rather than as a mere escape from challenges. True transformation comes from engaging deeply with one's own experiences during these times of solitude. This requires courage and self-awareness, as well as an openness to confronting uncomfortable truths about oneself. In conclusion, embracing withdrawal is not just about withdrawing physically or emotionally. It's about nurturing the inner world through silence and introspection. It challenges us to redefine success beyond external metrics, and instead prioritize personal growth and fulfillment. Through this process, we can cultivate resilience, creativity, and a deeper sense of self-awareness that enriches all aspects of life. The mask of the helper, always present and always available, is one of society's most revered personas. Yet beneath this persona lies an exhausting reality that robs individuals of their vitality and true essence. Carl Jung's exploration of individuation reveals that constant accessibility is not a virtue, but a symptom of inner fragmentation. When we become unreachable, we break free from the chains of social expectation, reclaiming our sovereignty and identity in the process. In modern society, being available at all times, whether it's through immediate responses to messages or an unending willingness to help others, is often seen as a mark of reliability and strength. However, this relentless availability comes at a profound cost. The persona that maintains constant connection with the world sacrifices its own internal boundaries and becomes a hollow vessel for the needs and demands of others. This continuous giving leads to depletion and exhaustion, ultimately eroding one's sense of self. To understand the deeper implications of always being available, we need to delve into the psychological concept of persona. For Jung, the persona represents the social mask that an individual adopts in their interactions with the world. It is a protective layer that shields the true self from external harm and allows individuals to navigate societal expectations. However, when this mask becomes rigid and unyielding, it can lead to a disconnection between one's inner reality and outer expression. The exhaustion of the persona begins as a subtle phenomenon, but escalates into a profound crisis of identity. The individual who is always available starts to feel drained, overwhelmed by the constant demands placed upon them. They begin to lose touch with their own desires, needs, and ambitions, becoming increasingly defined by others' expectations rather than their authentic selves. This disintegration between the persona and true self creates a state of inner turmoil and fragmentation. Historically, the concept of availability as a virtue is deeply rooted in societal structures that prioritize productivity, efficiency, and continuous connectivity. The rise of digital communication has exacerbated this trend, creating an expectation for immediate responses and constant engagement. However, ancient philosophies such as Taoism offer a different perspective. Lao Tzu's teachings on simplicity and the importance of inner peace highlight the detrimental effects of overextension and the value of withdrawing from relentless societal demands to nourish one's true essence. The invisible contract that binds individuals to this exhausting persona is often unconscious but powerful. This unwritten agreement suggests that maintaining constant availability will secure safety, love, or acceptance. However, this promise proves illusory. As the individual continues to sacrifice their own needs for others, they find themselves increasingly isolated and unfulfilled. The mask of the helper, while initially offering protection, ultimately becomes a prison that stifles personal growth and authenticity. In practical terms, the price of always being available manifests in various ways. Physically, it can lead to burnout and chronic stress, as individuals push themselves beyond their limits to meet societal expectations. Emotionally, this constant availability erodes self-esteem and autonomy, leaving the individual vulnerable to manipulation and exploitation. Psychologically, the relentless need to cater to others' demands leaves little room for introspection or personal development. The exhaustion of the persona is not just a personal issue, but also reflects broader societal dynamics. In many cultures, overextension is celebrated as an indicator of success and importance. Yet, this cultural glorification masks a deeper truth about the toll it takes on individuals' mental health and well-being. The constant pressure to be available perpetuates a cycle where true individuation becomes impossible, leaving people trapped in roles that are unsustainable and unfulfilling. Moreover, the shadow of the helper, the part of oneself that resents yet continues to comply with these societal demands, grows increasingly dark. This internal conflict leads to bitterness and resentment, further eroding the individual's sense of self-worth and agency. The more one conforms to external expectations, the greater their inner dissonance becomes, creating a toxic cycle where authenticity is sacrificed for social acceptance. The process of reclaiming sovereignty begins by acknowledging the exhaustion of the persona and recognizing that constant availability is unsustainable. It requires a reevaluation of societal norms and personal values, moving beyond the illusion that always being present equates to reliability or strength. This transformation involves withdrawing from relentless demands without isolating oneself entirely, creating space for inner reflection and growth. By embracing withdrawal as an act of power rather than weakness, individuals can begin to rebuild their identity from within. They start to prioritize their own needs and desires over external expectations, fostering a sense of internal authority that is crucial for true individuation. This process may be challenging and uncomfortable at first, but it ultimately leads to greater resilience, creativity, and self-awareness. In essence, the exhaustion of the persona highlights the importance of reclaiming one's autonomy and inner life. Constant availability is not a virtue, but a symptom of inner fragmentation, draining individuals of their vitality and identity. By breaking free from this exhausting mask, we can nurture our true selves and cultivate a deeper sense of fulfillment and peace. The concept of always being available has become deeply ingrained within our modern social fabric. We are expected to be accessible at all times, responding instantly to messages, emails, and calls. This relentless demand for presence can often masquerade as a sign of strength or reliability. However, in the realm of Jungian psychology, this constant availability is not a virtue, but rather an indicator of a fractured self. The mask of the always present individual is a prison that confines us to roles and expectations set by others. It restricts our ability to define who we truly are beyond these external pressures. This persona, while often praised for its reliability, can be incredibly draining, leading to profound exhaustion and disconnection from one's true self. Historically, the idea of availability has roots in tribal societies, where communal roles were clearly defined. Each member had specific duties that contributed to the collective well-being. However, as society evolved into more individualistic structures, this expectation of constant presence transformed into a cultural norm rather than a survival necessity. The psychological cost of this shift is significant. The persona of constant availability creates an invisible contract with others. It is assumed that by being there for everyone all the time, one will be rewarded with love and security. This unconscious agreement often leaves individuals feeling empty and unfulfilled as they distribute their limited energy in ways that do not nourish them internally. Instead of living from a place of self-awareness and inner authority, we become vessels for the needs and demands of others. The exhaustion of this mask is not just emotional, but also energetic. By constantly giving our psychic resources to satisfy external expectations, we deplete ourselves of the vitality needed to pursue personal growth and fulfillment. The more we occupy the center of other people's stages, the less present we become in our own lives. This leads to a hollow existence, where our essence is lost amidst constant demands. The persona of always present suffocates the true individual within us, creating a divide between who we are and who others expect us to be. This false self can lead to deep resentment as we accumulate bitterness over unfulfilled needs and desires that are never addressed or acknowledged. The more we pretend to meet these external expectations, the further away we move from our authentic selves. The good persona is a double-edged sword. While it brings social harmony by ensuring that no one feels neglected or left out, it also stifles personal growth and self-discovery. By striving for peace at all costs through constant availability, we sacrifice the opportunity to explore and embrace our inner depths. This can manifest as a chronic feeling of emptiness and dissatisfaction with life. The mask of always presence is not merely an external challenge, but an internal one as well. It highlights the psychological price of seeking approval through constant accessibility. By breaking free from this mask, we reclaim vital energy that has been lost to the demands of others. This process involves recognizing the inherent value in setting boundaries and prioritizing personal growth over immediate social obligations. The journey towards individuation requires us to confront these invisible contracts and understand the true cost of our constant availability. It is a path fraught with discomfort as we learn to say no, to set limits, and to prioritize our inner life. This process can be challenging and uncomfortable at first, but it ultimately leads to greater resilience, creativity, and self-awareness. In essence, the exhaustion of the persona highlights the importance of reclaiming one's autonomy and inner life. Constant availability is not a virtue but a symptom of inner fragmentation, draining individuals of their vitality and identity. By breaking free from this exhausting mask, we can nurture our true selves and cultivate a deeper sense of fulfillment and peace. This chapter serves as a call to action for all those who feel trapped by the expectations of constant presence. It is an invitation to reassess what it means to be truly available in one's life, and how breaking free from this restrictive mask can lead to profound transformation and personal growth. Historically, this concept of constant availability can be traced back to ancient social structures, where status and survival often depended on being seen as indispensable by one's community or tribe. However, modern society has amplified these expectations through the advent of digital communication technologies, making it easier than ever to be accessible 24/7. This shift underscores a paradox. While technology aims to bridge distances, it simultaneously creates an illusion that we must always be present and responsive, regardless of personal boundaries or well-being. The mask of always presence is not just about being physically available, but also about projecting an image of unyielding commitment and reliability. Individuals often feel compelled to maintain this facade out of fear of losing social status, professional opportunities, or personal connections. This can manifest in various ways, such as responding immediately to messages late at night, working during family time, or prioritizing others' needs over self-care. A key aspect of breaking free from this mask is understanding the psychological toll it takes on individuals. Chronic stress and burnout are common outcomes when one prioritizes constant availability over personal well-being. The constant need to be available can lead to feelings of inadequacy, anxiety, and a pervasive sense of not being enough. It is crucial for individuals to recognize these patterns and challenge the underlying beliefs that sustain them. For example, consider someone who feels compelled to respond immediately to emails sent late at night or on weekends, even when it disrupts their sleep or personal time. This behavior is driven by an internalized belief that responsiveness equals value, often reinforced through societal norms and expectations. However, maintaining this pattern can lead to exhaustion and a disconnection from one's own needs and desires. To break free from the mask of always presence, individuals must first recognize the cost of constant availability and begin setting healthy boundaries. This involves understanding that it is okay and necessary to prioritize personal growth and well-being over immediate social obligations. By doing so, they can foster a healthier work-life balance, improve mental health, and strengthen relationships built on mutual respect rather than obligation. The process of individuation requires one to confront these invisible contracts and understand the true cost of constant availability. This involves recognizing that personal boundaries are not selfish, but essential for maintaining one's autonomy and sense of self. It also means acknowledging that there is value in saying no, setting limits, and prioritizing activities that nurture inner growth and fulfillment. For instance, an individual might start by communicating their needs more clearly to friends and colleagues, explaining why they choose to limit their availability during certain hours or days. This could be as simple as letting others know about personal boundaries without feeling guilty for not being available at all times. Over time, this practice can lead to healthier interactions and a greater sense of control over one's life. Moreover, it is essential to explore the underlying motivations driving the mask of always presence. Often these are rooted in deep-seated fears of abandonment, inadequacy, or loss of status. By delving into these emotions through self-reflection or therapy, individuals can uncover and address these root causes, leading to more sustainable changes in behavior. Breaking free from this restrictive mask also involves cultivating a deeper connection with one's inner life. This includes engaging in activities that promote personal growth, such as meditation, journaling, creative pursuits, or other forms of self-expression. By prioritizing these aspects of oneself, individuals can nurture their true selves and cultivate a sense of fulfillment that goes beyond external validation. In conclusion, the journey towards individuation is about reclaiming one's autonomy and inner life from the restrictive mask of always presence. While challenging and uncomfortable at first, this process leads to greater resilience, creativity, and self-awareness. It requires recognizing the psychological price of constant availability and taking proactive steps to set healthy boundaries and prioritize personal growth. Ultimately, breaking free from the mask of always presence is an invitation to reassess what it means to be truly available in one's life. This transformation can lead to profound changes in how individuals approach relationships, work, and self-care, fostering a deeper sense of fulfillment and peace. The mask of constant availability, often worn to seek approval and validation from others, is an invisible contract that binds us. This social agreement promises safety and acceptance, but at the cost of our inner authority and autonomy. When we become always reachable, we sacrifice a portion of ourselves in exchange for temporary emotional comfort or external validation. Yet, this trade-off leaves us with a profound emptiness within. Historically, the concept of availability has been intertwined with societal roles and expectations. In ancient communities, responsiveness was key to survival, fostering interdependence and cooperation. However, in modern society, where communication technologies enable constant connection, the pressure to be available at all times has intensified. This shift can lead individuals into a pattern of reactive behavior that undermines their psychic energy. The invisible contract for approval is not merely an external agreement, but a deeply internalized expectation rooted in childhood experiences and cultural norms. Children learn early on that being responsive garners attention, affection, and acceptance from caregivers and peers. These formative interactions create an unconscious belief system where availability equals love and validation. As adults, this translates into a relentless pursuit of approval through constant accessibility. However, the continuous effort to be available can deplete one's emotional resources and diminish personal boundaries. The mask of always presence becomes a prison, trapping individuals in roles that are often dictated by others' needs rather than their own desires and inner guidance. This dynamic not only exhausts but also alienates people from their authentic selves. Psychologically, the constant need for approval through availability is tied to the concept of the persona in Jungian psychology. The persona refers to a mask or identity that we present to the world to fit societal expectations and gain acceptance. When this mask becomes rigid due to an overemphasis on being available, it stifles personal growth and individuation. True self-expression requires stepping out of these predefined roles and embracing the shadow aspects of oneself. Withdrawal from constant availability is not about isolating or abandoning relationships, but about reclaiming one's psychic energy for deeper introspection and transformation. It necessitates setting boundaries that acknowledge the limits of human endurance while promoting a healthier balance between giving and receiving. This process challenges societal norms, but ultimately leads to more fulfilling connections built on mutual respect and understanding rather than constant validation. Moreover, the act of breaking this invisible contract involves confronting one's fears around rejection and abandonment. It requires recognizing that true intimacy and meaningful relationships are built on authenticity, not just accessibility. By valuing personal space and time, individuals can foster a sense of inner peace and fulfillment, even if it means experiencing temporary discomfort or conflict with others. Philosophically, the notion of constant availability challenges existential notions of freedom and responsibility. Jean-Paul Sartre's concept of bad faith, where individuals deny their own freedom by conforming to societal expectations, resonates deeply here. By choosing to be always available, one may engage in this kind of denial, sacrificing personal sovereignty for external validation. Ultimately, the path out of the invisible contract involves redefining what it means to be truly present and available in relationships. It requires a conscious shift from seeking approval through constant accessibility to valuing oneself through self-awareness and personal boundaries. This transformation allows individuals to break free from societal constraints and embrace their authentic selves, fostering a deeper sense of fulfillment and peace within. The concept of breaking free from societal norms to achieve personal fulfillment and authenticity has roots that extend beyond just contemporary psychology. Historically, philosophers like Søren Kierkegaard and Friedrich Nietzsche have explored the idea of individuality versus society's expectations. Kierkegaard's notion of subjective truth emphasizes the importance of an individual's internal experiences over societal norms and external validation. Similarly, Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch challenges individuals to transcend traditional societal values and create their own personal standards, thereby freeing themselves from the oppressive nature of conventional norms. This idea complements Carl Jung's emphasis on individuation, a process where an individual strives for psychological differentiation by developing what he called the individuum, which represents one's unique self. Individuation involves integrating conscious and unconscious elements to achieve wholeness, a state where an individual harmonizes with their true essence rather than adhering solely to external expectations. This process often requires courage as it entails facing the shadow, a concept introduced by Jung that encompasses repressed aspects of the personality, such as negative traits or feelings that are denied expression due to societal taboos. The journey towards individuation is not linear but cyclical, involving periods of integration and disintegration. This cycle reflects the dynamic nature of personal growth and transformation. During disintegration, an individual may experience a sense of fragmentation and loss of identity as they confront their shadow self and outdated belief systems. Conversely, integration brings about healing, clarity, and renewed connection with one's authentic self. One example that illustrates this journey is that of the artist Frida Kahlo, who famously navigated her path through immense personal pain and societal constraints. Her paintings often depict a raw confrontation with her inner turmoil, reflecting Jungian themes such as individuation and the integration of the shadow. Through her art, Kahlo broke free from conventional gender roles and embraced her own unique identity, embodying the concept of self-actualization despite overwhelming odds. The implications of breaking free from societal norms are profound on both an individual and collective level. On a personal scale, embracing one's true self can lead to greater life satisfaction and resilience against external pressures. However, it also challenges individuals to navigate complex social dynamics and potential isolation as they forge their own paths. This journey often necessitates the development of new social contracts based on mutual respect and genuine connections rather than superficial approval. On a broader societal level, widespread individual liberation can catalyze cultural shifts towards more inclusive and supportive environments. However, this transformation requires addressing systemic barriers that perpetuate normative expectations. For instance, workplaces that prioritize flexibility and employee well-being are better equipped to support individuals on their journey of individuation. Similarly, educational systems that foster critical thinking and self-awareness empower students to question societal norms and pursue authentic pathways. Lesser-known details about the concept of individuation reveal its intricate connections with cultural anthropology and global spirituality. Jung's work has influenced indigenous cultures' understanding of personal growth through rituals and ceremonies that promote spiritual connection and self-discovery. For example, the Navajo Nightway ceremony is a transformative experience where participants engage in purification rites to confront their inner demons and emerge reborn. Such practices highlight how different cultural frameworks can offer unique pathways towards individuation. In conclusion, breaking free from invisible contracts for approval involves a profound journey of self-discovery and transformation guided by principles of individuation. It challenges individuals to question societal norms, confront the shadow aspects of their personality, and embrace their authentic selves. This process not only leads to personal fulfillment, but also contributes to broader cultural shifts towards more supportive and inclusive environments. When you constantly make yourself available to others, you are not just sacrificing your own time and space, you are also setting yourself up for a kind of psychological exhaustion that drains the very essence of who you are. The persona of being always present is a prison crafted from the expectations of society, friends, family, and even your own internalized beliefs about what it means to be a good person. You distribute your limited, vital energy as if it were infinite, pouring yourself into others' lives without regard for your own needs or desires. This mask, this persona, is a facade that keeps you from acknowledging the true cost of always being available, the erosion of your individuality, and the stifling of your unique voice. As you spend more time playing to the expectations of others, you fade into the background of your own life, disappearing from your own stage. The more you occupy center stage in other people's lives, the more you become a shadow in your own existence. The invisible contract that binds you to this persona is an unconscious agreement that availability will somehow buy safety or love. You believe that by always being there for others, you are protecting yourself from abandonment and rejection. But what you often fail to see is how this constant accessibility robs you of the autonomy needed to grow and flourish as your authentic self. The price of peace in this context is a deep-seated resignation to mediocrity. You become a conduit for other people's needs, sacrificing your own dreams and desires on the altar of social harmony. The good persona becomes a mask that smothers the true individual within you. It suffocates your soul with the weight of others' expectations, leaving no room for spontaneity or creative expression. The good persona is not just an external construct, but also a deeply internalized one. It reflects a fear-driven belief system where self-worth is derived from being indispensable to others. You are valued less as a unique individual and more as a reliable resource that can be counted on at all times. The paradox here lies in the fact that this constant availability actually diminishes your value because it robs you of the richness that comes with living an authentic life. To truly break free from these invisible contracts, one must first acknowledge the psychological toll they exact. The exhaustion of always being available is not just physical but also emotional and spiritual. You become a hollow vessel for others' needs, losing touch with your own inner voice and sense of purpose. This kind of burnout can be as debilitating as any physical illness because it erodes your very identity. The journey towards individuation begins when you recognize the invisible contract for what it is, a trap that keeps you from becoming who you truly are. It requires a willingness to confront the shadow aspects of yourself, those parts of your personality that resist growth and change. The shadow is where all the bitterness and resentment accumulate due to unfulfilled needs and desires. As you constantly give in to others' demands without asserting your own boundaries, this shadow grows darker and more oppressive. Breaking free from these contracts also means taking a hard look at the guilt that often accompanies silence or withdrawal. The fear of being seen as selfish or uncaring can be paralyzing, but it is crucial to understand that maintaining constant availability does not equate to kindness. Rather, it is an unauthentic form of compassion that depletes your energy and stifles your growth. True kindness comes from a place of inner strength and clarity, not from the exhaustion of always being there. The process of individuation requires you to redefine what true connection means in your life. It involves shifting from a focus on external validation to an internal locus of control. By setting boundaries and prioritizing your own needs, you create space for deeper, more meaningful connections with others. This is not about isolating yourself, but rather about reclaiming your identity as a unique individual worthy of respect. Ultimately, the price of peace in the form of constant availability is a false sense of security that ultimately leads to inner turmoil and disconnection from oneself. By acknowledging this truth, you can begin to dismantle these invisible contracts and forge a path towards genuine individuation. This journey may be challenging, but it is essential for anyone seeking to live an authentic life filled with purpose, meaning, and self-fulfillment. Exploring the historical context of such invisible contracts reveals fascinating insights into how societal expectations have evolved and shaped individual identities over time. In many traditional societies, community cohesion was paramount, often prioritizing collective needs above personal desires. This emphasis on communal harmony has roots in survival strategies, where cooperation was essential for protection and resource allocation. Over centuries, these norms became deeply ingrained cultural practices that dictated the boundaries of acceptable behavior, particularly regarding individual autonomy versus group loyalty. The 20th century saw significant shifts with the rise of individualism, especially in Western cultures influenced by existentialist philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir. These thinkers emphasized personal freedom and self-determination as fundamental aspects of human existence. However, even within this framework of individual empowerment, many continue to grapple with societal pressures that pull them back towards the safety of conformity and constant availability. In today's digital age, these dynamics are further complicated by the pervasive nature of social media and instant communication tools. Platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp have created new avenues for maintaining connections, but also impose unprecedented expectations regarding responsiveness and visibility. The pressure to be constantly online and available can feel overwhelming, exacerbating feelings of disconnection from oneself in the pursuit of virtual harmony. One lesser-known aspect is how these contracts play out differently across various cultures and demographics. For instance, women often face unique challenges when it comes to balancing societal expectations with personal boundaries. Historically, women have been expected to be nurturing caregivers and maintain familial cohesion at all costs, which can conflict sharply with the need for self-care and individuation. This paradox is further complicated by gender stereotypes that perpetuate unrealistic standards of perpetual availability and emotional labor. Moreover, within professional settings, these invisible contracts manifest as unspoken rules, dictating work-life balance or the expectation to be available beyond regular working hours. The culture of constant connectivity has blurred the lines between personal and professional life, leading many professionals, especially those in leadership roles or high-stress environments like tech startups, to burn out from chronic overwork. The implications of failing to break free from these contracts are profound. Continued compliance can lead not only to psychological distress, but also physical ailments such as chronic fatigue syndrome and adrenal fatigue due to prolonged stress and lack of restorative activities. Additionally, relationships suffer when one partner prioritizes external obligations over intimate interactions, fostering resentment and emotional distance. On a broader societal level, the perpetuation of these invisible contracts contributes to systemic issues like gender inequality and workforce burnout. By failing to address the root causes of constant availability and its impact on mental health, societies risk overlooking crucial aspects of human well-being in favor of superficial metrics of productivity and social cohesion. To effectively navigate this landscape requires not only personal introspection, but also broader cultural shifts towards valuing authentic connections over surface-level interactions. This includes fostering environments where individuals feel empowered to set boundaries without fear of judgment or retaliation, promoting healthier models of communication and support within communities and workplaces. Every human being has moments when they feel compelled to say yes, even when it goes against their true desires. In Carl Jungian psychology, this phenomenon is known as the shadow of the helper, a hidden part of oneself that acts in accordance with societal expectations rather than one's inner truth. The persona, or the mask we wear for others, often embodies a form of unauthentic kindness, a way to avoid confrontation and maintain social harmony at all costs. This chapter delves into how this shadow aspect manifests within our daily lives, creating an internal division that can lead to psychological distress over time. When individuals continually suppress their authentic needs in favor of pleasing others, they unknowingly create a reservoir of resentment within the psyche. This bitterness accumulates silently, becoming a heavy burden carried by the individual who continues to offer superficial kindness without genuine connection. The shadow helper is also deeply intertwined with the concept of manipulation through guilt. When an individual feels compelled to be constantly available and responsive, they fall into a pattern where their silence can be used against them. Others may exploit this emotional vulnerability, using silent periods as leverage for control over the helper's reactions and availability. At its core, the shadow of the helper reveals a profound disconnect between one's inner desires and external actions. This dissonance is not merely an inconvenience, it can be psychologically toxic if left unaddressed. The constant suppression of authentic needs and feelings leads to a fragmented sense of self, where the persona or public face remains intact while the true essence of the individual diminishes. Historically, cultures have often valued conformity over individuality, creating environments where stepping out of line can be met with social consequences. In such contexts, the shadow helper emerges as a coping mechanism to navigate these pressures without incurring significant backlash or ostracism. However, this adaptation comes at a price: the erosion of one's inner life and the accumulation of unprocessed emotions that eventually seek expression through various forms of psychological distress. In modern society, where constant connectivity is seen as an asset rather than a liability, the shadow helper can manifest in subtle yet powerful ways. The expectation to be instantly reachable via phone or email creates an environment ripe for manipulation through guilt. When individuals perceive their availability as a prerequisite for maintaining relationships or professional success, they enter into what Jung might call an invisible contract, an unconscious agreement where constant accessibility is exchanged for perceived safety and acceptance. This invisible contract operates on the premise that being always available will secure approval, love, and social harmony. Yet, in reality, it leads to a form of self-abandonment. The more one distributes their vital energy to others, the less they have left for themselves. This imbalance creates a hollow vessel where the individual feels drained and disconnected from their true essence. The concept of strategic unavailability emerges as an antidote to this pervasive cultural norm. By setting boundaries and withdrawing temporarily from constant connectivity, individuals can reclaim their inner authority and begin the process of psychological integration. When one refuses to justify their absence or explain away moments of silence, they disrupt the narrative control others may have over them. This act of withdrawal is not about isolating oneself, but rather using strategic unavailability as a tool for self-discovery and authentic connection. By becoming unavailable to superficial interactions and demands that drain one's energy, individuals create space for deeper reflection and personal growth. This process can be challenging. It involves the risk of being misunderstood or labeled as aloof by those who are accustomed to constant availability. However, as Jungian psychology suggests, these challenges are necessary steps towards individuation, the journey towards becoming a whole, integrated self. Through embracing silence and withdrawal, individuals learn that their peace is worth more than fleeting social connections predicated on superficial expectations. The shadow helper can transform into an ally in this process by offering insights into the unconscious patterns driving one's behavior. Ultimately, the shadow of the helper reveals that true kindness cannot be sustained through constant availability or unauthentic responses to others' needs. Real compassion arises from a place of inner balance and awareness, where individuals are neither over-attentive nor indifferent, but rather present in ways that resonate with their authentic selves. In exploring this concept, we uncover the vital importance of setting boundaries and reclaiming one's internal authority. By recognizing the shadow helper for what it is, a coping mechanism that has outlived its usefulness, we open pathways to deeper self-understanding and psychological growth. The journey towards individuation requires navigating through these shadows with awareness and courage, ultimately leading us toward a state of authentic presence and inner peace. The concept of individuation, as proposed by Carl Jung, is deeply rooted in the idea that every individual has a unique path towards wholeness and self-realization. This journey often entails confronting one's shadow, those aspects of oneself that are repressed or disowned due to societal norms or personal fears. The shadow helper, an archetype that emerges during periods of introspection and withdrawal, can be seen as a critical player in this process of self-discovery. It reflects the tension between societal expectations and personal authenticity, serving as both a challenge and an opportunity for transformation. Historically, many spiritual traditions have recognized the importance of solitude and silence in the quest for enlightenment or deeper understanding of oneself. In Buddhism, monks often undergo prolonged periods of meditation in isolated settings to confront their inner demons and achieve clarity. Similarly, The Christian Desert Fathers practiced asceticism to withdraw from worldly distractions and cultivate a closer relationship with God through introspection. These practices highlight the universal human need to disengage periodically from external influences in order to reconnect with one's core essence. The shadow helper archetype can be understood as an internal guide that prompts individuals to question their habitual responses and behaviors, especially those driven by societal norms or personal insecurities. For instance, someone who habitually overfunctions in relationships might find themselves grappling with the feeling of being overwhelmed and drained. This is often a signal from the shadow helper that it's time to reassess one's boundaries and prioritize self-care. Lesser-known details about this process include the potential for individuals to experience resistance or confusion when confronted by their shadow helper. This resistance can manifest as anxiety, depression, or physical symptoms, signaling the psyche's struggle with integrating these repressed aspects of oneself. It is through working through such challenges that personal growth occurs. Individuals are forced to confront and accept parts of themselves they may have previously rejected. The implications of embracing one's shadow helper extend beyond individual well-being to impact interpersonal relationships and societal structures. By acknowledging the need for withdrawal and setting boundaries, individuals contribute to a culture shift towards valuing authenticity and mental health. This can lead to more balanced and meaningful connections with others, fostering environments where both personal growth and communal support coexist harmoniously. In contemporary society, the shadow helper's influence is particularly pronounced as technology and social media amplify societal pressures to be constantly available and responsive. The pressure to maintain a perfect public image often leads individuals into patterns of overfunctioning or underfunctioning, both extremes stemming from an inability to authentically engage with oneself and others. Recognizing this, practitioners of Jungian psychology encourage clients to explore these dynamics by engaging in reflective practices such as journaling, dream analysis, and creative expression. Furthermore, the journey towards individuation through confronting the shadow helper is not a linear progression, but rather a cyclical process marked by periods of integration followed by new challenges. As one aspect of the shadow is brought into consciousness, others may emerge to be addressed, a testament to the depth and complexity of the human psyche. This ongoing dialogue with the unconscious highlights the importance of patience and persistence in the journey towards wholeness. In conclusion, the shadow helper serves as a catalyst for profound personal transformation by prompting individuals to question their assumptions about themselves and their place in society. Through this process of confrontation and integration, one can develop greater self-awareness, resilience, and authenticity, key elements in achieving inner peace and fulfillment. Unauthentic kindness is often mistaken for genuine compassion, but it is merely a mask of convenience and avoidance. The shadow helper thrives on this ambiguity, feeding off the bitterness and resentment that accumulate when one's actions are not aligned with their true self. This untruth perpetuates an internal schism where the persona remains outwardly agreeable, while the shadow grows ever darker and more demanding. When we consistently say yes to others out of fear of rejection or a desire for approval, we neglect our own needs and desires. This constant sacrifice of personal boundaries chips away at one's autonomy and self-worth. The unauthentic kindness practiced in these moments is not an act of generosity, but rather a form of psychological warfare waged against oneself. The shadow helper capitalizes on this dynamic by creating a reservoir of resentment that simmers beneath the surface, hidden from view but nonetheless potent. Every forced agreement or acquiescence to another's demands without genuine consent contributes to this growing pool of bitterness. It is not just a matter of feeling slighted, it is about being complicit in one's own diminishment. Manipulation of guilt further exacerbates this internal conflict. Silence, when cloaked in feelings of inadequacy or unworthiness, becomes an effective tool for controlling others' perceptions and reactions. By maintaining this silence, the shadow helper ensures that genuine communication remains elusive, perpetuating a cycle of emotional avoidance and subterfuge. The price paid for unauthentic kindness is steep. It erodes one's sense of self and leaves them vulnerable to exploitation by those who do not value their true worth. This false persona, built on the foundation of overextension and perpetual availability, serves as a facade behind which the authentic individual remains hidden and suppressed. In Carl Jung's analytical psychology, this shadow helper embodies the darker aspects of the psyche that seek recognition and validation through manipulation and subterfuge. By understanding and integrating these shadow elements, individuals can begin to dismantle the false persona and reclaim their true essence. The process is arduous, but essential for achieving individuation, the realization of one's unique self beyond societal expectations. The journey toward authentic living requires courage to confront the shadow helper head-on. This involves acknowledging the bitterness that has accumulated over years of untruths and forced compliance, as well as taking active steps towards setting boundaries and asserting oneself authentically. It is a transformative process that demands patience and persistence, reflecting the deeper understanding of one's inner world. Through this confrontation, individuals learn to distinguish between genuine kindness rooted in empathy and selflessness from the harmful masquerade of unauthentic compliance. Recognizing the psychological poison inherent in such behavior allows for a rebirth into a more authentic existence, where actions are congruent with one's true identity. The shadow helper serves as a catalyst for profound personal transformation by prompting individuals to question their assumptions about themselves and their place in society. This introspection leads to greater self-awareness, resilience, and authenticity, key elements in achieving inner peace and fulfillment. By embracing the challenge of integrating this darker aspect of oneself, one can emerge stronger and more whole, having navigated the murky waters of untruth and reclaimed the integrity of their being. Ultimately, the journey towards wholeness involves not only acknowledging, but also transforming these shadow aspects into strengths that enrich one's life. The silence born from genuine boundaries is a powerful act of sovereignty. It signifies a refusal to be defined by others' demands or societal expectations. Instead, it allows for an inner transformation where true connection and fulfillment become possible. In this chapter, we have explored the profound impact of unauthentic kindness on personal growth and self-awareness. By understanding the shadow helper as a force that both constrains and liberates, individuals can embark on a path towards greater authenticity and wholeness. This journey is challenging but rewarding, offering an opportunity to transcend the limitations imposed by societal norms and embrace one's true essence. The concept of unauthentic kindness and its psychological ramifications is deeply intertwined with Carl Jung's broader theories on individuation and the integration of the shadow. In his work, Jung emphasized that true self-realization requires individuals to confront their darkest aspects, those traits or behaviors that are repressed due to societal expectations or personal fears. This process of integrating the shadow is not merely about accepting these hidden parts, but also transforming them into strengths that contribute positively to one's development. Historically, many cultures have recognized the importance of this introspective journey, although it has often been couched in different terms. For instance, ancient Greek philosophy, particularly as espoused by Plato and Aristotle, advocated for the cultivation of virtue through self-examination and moral reasoning. This process was seen as essential not just for personal growth, but also for contributing to the greater good of society. In contemporary psychology, this notion of shadow integration has found resonance in various therapeutic approaches such as Jungian analysis, transactional analysis, and cognitive behavioral therapy. These methods encourage clients to explore their unconscious motivations and unresolved conflicts through techniques like dream analysis, guided imagery, and role-playing. By bringing these hidden aspects into conscious awareness, individuals can begin to address the root causes of their unauthentic behavior. A compelling example of this process in action is seen in cases where people undergo significant life transitions, such as career changes or major personal losses. During such times, individuals often confront deeply held beliefs and values that have been previously obscured by external pressures or societal norms. For instance, a professional might realize that their lifelong pursuit of success was driven more by the expectations of others than by genuine passion for their work. This realization can trigger a profound shift in priorities, leading to a reinvention of one's life path that aligns more closely with personal values and desires. Furthermore, the impact of unauthentic kindness extends beyond individual psychology into social and cultural contexts. Societal norms often pressure individuals to conform to certain expectations regarding behavior, status, and success. These external demands can create environments where people feel compelled to act in ways that do not reflect their true selves. This disconnection can lead to widespread feelings of alienation, anxiety, and depression, as individuals struggle to reconcile the roles they are expected to play with their authentic identities. Addressing this issue requires a reevaluation of societal norms and the promotion of environments that support genuine self-expression and personal growth. Communities and institutions must foster spaces where individuals feel safe to explore and express their true selves without fear of judgment or rejection. This includes encouraging dialogue about mental health, reducing stigma associated with seeking help for psychological issues, and promoting education on emotional intelligence and self-awareness. In the realm of intercultural psychology, the concept of unauthentic kindness also takes on nuanced dimensions. Cultural differences can significantly influence how individuals perceive and navigate their shadows. For example, collectivist cultures may place a greater emphasis on group harmony and social cohesion, potentially leading to higher levels of conformity and suppression of individual desires in favor of collective goals. In contrast, individualist cultures might encourage more overt expressions of personal identity, but could also foster a sense of isolation or alienation if these expressions are not fully supported by societal norms. Understanding the implications of unauthentic kindness across different cultural contexts underscores the importance of developing culturally sensitive therapeutic approaches and educational programs that acknowledge and address diverse experiences of self-discovery. By embracing this complexity, mental health professionals and educators can better support individuals in their journey towards authentic living, regardless of the cultural milieu in which they find themselves. In conclusion, the exploration of unauthentic kindness as a psychological poison highlights its multifaceted impact on personal growth and societal well-being. Through the integration of shadow aspects, individuals have the opportunity to transform these negative experiences into powerful forces for positive change. This journey towards wholeness is both challenging and transformative, offering a pathway to true connection and fulfillment that aligns with one's authentic self.